Recently, you've probably had an experience that goes like this. You find a place you like, check the price, and you're hit with the harsh reality that rent is insane. The dream of owning a home or even a place to call your own feels like it's been a faraway dream for most people. But here's the problem. Rent isn't just high. It's destroying your future. For Gen Z, rent isn't only a financial burden. It's also a bottomless pit designed to never let you escape. This trap is designed to keep you stuck in the same repeating cycle. You work harder for less, while the cost of living continues to increase. So why is rent crushing Gen Z's future? Let's dive into it. Let's start with the obvious: rent is out of control. In cities across the country, rent prices have reached levels that were once reserved for luxury apartments. But now, they're just the average price for a one-bedroom in an average part of town. In popular cities like New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, the average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $2,500 to $3,000. Now let's compare that with the average salary for a Gen Z individual, which is about $40,000 per year. If we break that down, you're earning about $3,333 per month before taxes. So, after taxes, let's estimate that you're taking home about $2,500 a month, which is probably generous in many states. That means if you're paying $2,500 a month in rent, your entire income goes straight into housing. And that doesn't leave any room for anything else like food, utilities, transportation, and not enough for saving and investing for your future. But here's the thing, it's not just cities. Rent is unaffordable everywhere. You might think, well, maybe in a rural area things will be cheaper. Let's take a look at that. In rural states like Missouri, Alabama, or Arkansas, you might find a one-bedroom apartment for around $900 to $1,200 per month, which is still a steep price, but more affordable than major cities. However, the problem is that the average salary in these areas is only around $30,000 a year, or about $2,500 per month before taxes. After taxes, you're taking home about $2,000 per month. Now let's compare that to the cost of rent. Even at $1,000 for a small apartment, that's already half your monthly income that is going toward housing. That still doesn't leave you much room for anything else, especially when you factor in utilities, car payments, groceries, and other basic needs. As a 23-year-old fresh out of college, I can say with confidence that I make just below $2,500 a month at 40 hours per week, and when I am done paying rent with one roommate, utilities and insurance, groceries, car payments, gas, and other household items that are needed, I am left with only around $300 to save or spend on myself. The crazy thing is that I can't even afford to invest in a 401k, as I would not have enough saved up to support myself if an emergency were to happen. Things like unexpected car maintenance, hospital bills, damage of property, and nowadays getting laid off is now increasingly common. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, even if I could save about 5 to 10% per paycheck on a 401k, it would net me around $1 to $1.5 million. Granted, this is money I would not see until I am 70 or until the year 2070. If inflation continues to rise and wages remain stagnant, I am looking at this $1 to $1.5 million being valued less than half of what it is worth today. I don't know how boomers expect people to listen to their dogshit advice for our future when they usually take no consideration for our future, because they will be long gone before then. The just work harder excuse is laughably thrown out the window when we talk about these stats, as they are exposed for being the narrow-minded individuals that they are. Also, just to clarify, I do not have a hate for boomers who care about the future or try hard to make the world a better place. My argument is for the majority of boomers that voice their opinion loudly on this by providing low-effort solutions such as pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, while thinking it is even remotely useful advice. I don't think that anyone who listens to that advice will ever really gain anything besides just being looked down upon in a condescending manner. In 2024, the median home price in the United States is around $420,000. If you're trying to get a mortgage on that house with a 20% down payment, you'll need $84,000 just to get started, and that's not even considering that you need some extra money on top of that for when things go wrong, because let's be honest, they usually do. That's almost double the wage of Gen Z's average salary. Let's say you've been working hard, saving for years, but guess what? Most of us don't have the luxury of saving that much. Even if you manage to scrape together a down payment, the monthly mortgage payments would be high. We're talking about $2,500 or more just to cover the mortgage on a typical house. Add in property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, and you're easily looking at a monthly cost of $3,000 or higher. If we compare renting versus buying a home, you'll see that if you're paying $2,500 a month in rent, that means by the end of the year, you'll have spent $30,000 just on housing. That's a huge chunk of your income, leaving very little room for anything else. Now imagine you were to buy a home instead. If you could somehow manage to save that down payment, let's say you finance a house worth $420,000. Your mortgage might cost you $2,500 per month, but that's only the beginning. After property taxes and insurance, you'll be paying around $3,000 a month for a house. The difference is that you're building equity, but at what cost? So, how does this all affect your ability to save and invest for your future? Let's just assume you're able to put aside a little bit of money each month after paying rent. If you're paying $2,500 a month on rent and you're left with just $500 after basic expenses, and that's being generous, you could put that money into a 401k or other investments. But if you're paying for a house with a $3,000 mortgage, you don't even have $500 left. You're barely scraping by. The reality is, without the ability to save or invest in your 20s and 30s, your wealth-building opportunities are severely limited. Here's what it looks like if you actually could save. If you put $500 a month into a 401k and you're able to get an average return of 7% over 30 years, you'd have over $500,000 by the time you're ready to retire. Which, like I stated before, by 2070, will be massively devalued when factoring in inflation and no wage increases. But if you're spending all your money on rent or mortgage payments just to survive, you'll miss out on that kind of growth. And let's be real, if you're barely making ends meet, you're more than likely not investing in your future at all, just like I am currently. You're just hoping the next paycheck will cover your bills. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. You kids have it so easy today. Boomers love to say that, right? You don't know what hard work is. Back in my day, we didn't have all this newfangled tech and automation. We had to grind for everything we had. And honestly, it's infuriating. They love to point out all these new inventions and technology, smartphones, the internet, automation, you name it, like there's some magic fix for all the problems we face. But here's the reality. Technology doesn't make everything easier. It just creates new problems for us to deal with. Yeah, automation exists, but it's not making our life easier. It's displacing jobs left and right. More and more jobs are being automated, and suddenly, the career paths we were told to follow are gone. What I would love to ask boomers is, where's the job security? Where's the stability that boomers had when they were able to work at the same company for 30 years and retire with a pension? That doesn't exist for us. We're competing with AI, robots, and global markets that don't care about us. But it's not just the financial burden. Renting or trying to buy a home in this economy has a psychological toll. The stress of constantly worrying about whether you'll be able to afford the next month's rent or whether you'll ever be able to buy a house can cause deep anxiety. It creates a sense of hopelessness. You're stuck in a system that makes you feel like you're working harder than ever, but never getting ahead. You are designed to see others buy homes on social media, but you're stuck renting because the prices are impossible to meet. And that's why so many Gen Z individuals are falling behind. Financially, rent doesn't just rob us of our money, it robs us of our future. Rent is crushing our future, and boomers will try everything in their power to gaslight you into thinking you are lazy, entitled, and worthless. The thing is, when presented with the facts, they refuse to accept them. Gen Z needs to break free from the system that was never designed to help us and keep us working so the rich can forever enslave us. Affordable housing isn't entitled to everyone, but the opportunity to save up for one is quite literally what American culture has stood for since its beginning.